Regarding the question of what do you write, that's a hard one for me. As for points of view, in a novel, of course, you're telling the story straight, but in short stories I do a ton of first-person writing. And I've written as old guys, I've written as young guys, I've written as white guys, black guys, Chinese guys, I've written as women, and submitted stories like that to anonymous competitions where people were convinced the writer was a woman.
I don't know what that says about me, but I'll think about it later.
If it wasn't for the editing job I'm doing on this segment of the self-interview video, you'd be able to see what kind of trouble I'm having in trying to describe what it is that I write. I don't really fit into any particular category, and that may sound like a bragging point.
You can't pigeonhole me. I don't fit into any category. I am a rebel. I am unique.
It also makes it a real bitch trying to sell your books because you can't fit into any category. One way to nail it down would be to have me name the 3 greatest writing influences in my life. If you've read these guys, you can see elements of their style in what I write. And just let me say 2 quick things. First of all, I think it's vitally important to write in your own voice. I think the most successful writers for me have been people who write pretty much the way they talk, so that a good story on paper would sound almost exactly the same if the author was sitting on a stool next to you at a bar, spinning a story, and you being totally absorbed in the story that you're hearing. Writing in your own voice is very important, and the influences that I'm going to mention have shown me how to do that. The other quick thing I want to mention is smoking is very, very bad for you. Don't do it. It's bad. You know what, though? As bad as it is, it's so good. The last thing I need is, anti-smoking zealots on my ass for this video, so I'll have to remember to cut that bit out. 3 influences. First of all, Richard Matheson. Undoubtedly, he's at the top of the list. For those of you who read horror or offbeat fiction, for those of you who watch a lot of classic TV or old movies, you're going to know his name. He's the guy that wrote things like I Am Legend, the original book from the 50s, which kicks the shit out of any movie adaptation that's ever been done. The Will Smith thing, crap. The Charlton Heston thing, crap. Oddly enough, the book that came closest to capturing I Am Legend was the 1960s cheap-ass Vincent Price version. He's written a ton of stuff, and he's the master of the short story. There's no word games, there's no literary flowery crap in his writing. He doesn't need those tricks. He just tells a story. That's why he's at the top of the list. Number 2, a lot of people will groan when I say this, but it's Stephen King. 2 things I like about Stephen King. 1, he really showed me that you can write in your own voice. Stephen King writes exactly the way he talks. If you've ever heard him interviewed, he writes exactly the way he talks, and I think that's very important. You should try and have an honest voice, if that makes any sense whatsoever. Hopefully you know what I'm talking about. Stephen King is very good at that, and that's why he has reached so many people. And of course, the other thing I like about Stephen King is he's the master of what you could call daylight horror. I think he said it himself, or somebody said it about him, that he brought horror out of, the creepy nighttime graveyard thing and put it right in the middle of your kitchen in the middle of the day. That's a great description of what Stephen King does, and that's one of the things that really appeals to me, finding the twist in everyday things that aren't necessarily already shrouded in spooky bullshit. The 3rd writer who's influenced me a great deal, and I hardly ever mention him, is a guy named James Robert Baker. He ended up committing suicide, and that's a shame. I think he only wrote 3 books. His masterpiece is a book called Boy Wonder. It's the most insane look at Hollywood I've ever read. It's just fantastic. It's told in snippets from different character points of view, and it's probably the funniest book I've ever read. And he showed me that you can really write an incredible mix of drama and thrills and really funny shit all at the same time. So those 3 influences are really important to me, and if you blend them together, you get the kind of thing I write. Stories that have twists, told in an honest, clear voice, with occasional doses of touching drama, or hopefully laugh so hard you piss your pants humor. That's pretty much it in a nutshell for me as far as what do you write.